The periodic table of elements. Elements. Science has come a long way since Aristotle's theory of air, water, fire, and earth. Scientists have identified 92 natural elements and created about 28 others. The elements alone or in combinations make up our bodies, our world, our sun, and in fact, the entire universe. The most abundant element in the Earth crust is oxygen, followed by silicon, next is aluminum, next is iron, next is calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, titanium, and hydrogen. Mendeleev made the periodic table. He forms this table for us to learn and for us to see how it looks like. What is the periodic table? A periodic table class shows all known elements in the universe. It also organizes the elements by chemical properties. Periodic table, a great deal of information about an element can be gathered from its position on the period table. Understanding the organization and plan of the periodic table will help you obtain basic information about each of the 180 known elements. How do you read the periodic table? Number 6 is atomic number, symbol, name, and the atomic weight. Take note, atomic weight and atomic mass is the same. What is the atomic number? The number of the protons found in the nucleus of an atom or the number of electrons surrounding the nucleus of an atom, and that is atomic number. What is the symbol? The symbol is an abbreviation of the element name. What is the atomic mass? The number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus of an atom. How do you find the number of protons, electrons, and neutrons in an element using the periodic table? The number of protons is equal to atomic number. The number of electrons is equal to atomic number. The difference between the two is that the protons has the charge of positive and the electrons has the charge of negative. Number of neutrons is uncharged. How do you get the charge of neutrons? Atomic mass number rounded off and then minus the atomic number, and that is the charge of neutrons. The periodic table has three main categories: the metals, the nonmetals, and the metalloids. Here's examples of metals: nickel, rubidium, gold, and copper. Properties of metals. Metals appear to the left of the dark zigzag line on the periodic table. Most metals are solid at room temperature. Let's move now to the properties of metals. First, metals have luster. This means they are shiny. Okay. Next properties of metal is ductile. Ductile means metals can be drawn into wire. Another properties of metals, malleable. Malleable means metals can be hammered into sheets. Another properties of metal, metals have high melting point. They are also very dense. Take note that metals have high melting point and they are also dense. Another properties of metals is conductors. When we say conductor class, metals are good conductors of electricity and heat. When you leave a spoon in a cup of a hot drink, the pit poking out of the drink gets hot. Why? Because of conductions. So metals are the best conductors of heat. So this because the electrons in the metals move more freely than in nonmetals, so allowing the heat energy to travel across the metal. For example, when the spoon touches the hot drink, the heat from the drink excites the electrons in the metal, and the electrons transfer the energy from one electron to another, so carrying the heat all the way up to the spoon quickly. Best conductors, silver and copper. Physical properties of metals. Metals are good conductors of electricity. Copper and silver and gold are the examples of metals. Let's move now to the another properties of metal. Properties of metal is when a chemical property of metal is its reactions with water and oxygen. So these results in corrosion and rust. Let's move now to nonmetals. Example of nonmetals: sulfur, nitrogen, selenium, bromine. Properties of nonmetals. Nonmetals occur to the right of the dark zigzag on the periodic table. Although hydrogen is in a family 1, it also a nonmetal. So many nonmetals are gases at room temperature. Properties of nonmetals. We have nonmetals do not have luster, so they are dull. Properties of nonmetal: brittle. When we say brittle, nonmetals are brittle, so they break easily. This means nonmetals are not ductile or malleable. Another properties of nonmetals is nonmetals have low density. Properties of nonmetals: they also have a low melting point. This is why they are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Metalloids. Example of metalloids is germanium, silicon, polonium, and arsenic. Properties of metalloids. Metalloids can be found clustered around a dark zigzag line that separates metals and nonmetals. Properties of metalloids. Metalloids, metal-like, have properties of both metals and nonmetals. Another properties of metalloids are solids that can be shiny or dull. Another properties of metalloids: they conduct electricity and heat better than nonmetals, but not as well as metals. Properties of metalloids are malleable and ductile. Okay? The period table is usually a way to arrange elements. The vertical columns are called groups. The horizontal rows are called periods. Elements in the same group have similar properties. 3/4 of the elements are metals. 1/4 of the elements are nonmetals.